My name's Andy McAleese. I live in Welwyn Garden City in the UK and I'm a stability leader. So back in June 2019, I was attending our company's leadership team offsite. And we started that day by talking through the 360-degree feedback that we'd each received. And when it came to my turn, I just couldn't speak and I broke down in tears. And that was the start of me discovering that I'd been struggling for a long time with depression and anxiety. Looking back to that day, what really I think just pushed me over the edge was being confronted by this huge gulf between my extremely negative self-view, which was something that I projected onto everyone and everything around me, and seeing that positive feedback from peers and colleagues there in black and white in front of me. And my mind just couldn't reconcile these two different views of me, and so just everything came flooding out. What I discovered in that moment was that just how much love and care there was for me in the room that day. Everybody leaned in, was concerned and wanted to support me. Nobody reacted badly or wanted to avoid it, but also nobody had any idea what I'd been feeling or that something had been wrong. Yet, up until that point, I really had been struggling more and more. For example, I was constantly criticising myself. I deconstructed everything that would happen to me during the day, and I'd often end the day walking home from work close to tears. I struggled to sleep. I'd regularly wake in the night, catastrophizing about things, which I guess compounded the problem. And above all of that, I felt increasingly hopeless. I felt that the world was shrinking around me and that I was shrinking further into myself. But I didn't fully recognize what was happening, and I certainly didn't look for help. But then when everything came out at that management meeting that day, it was an enormous weight off my shoulders. And I realised just how exhausting it had been trying to carry on as normal, pretending I was okay, and without getting any help. Yet, even after my diagnosis for depression, I still felt resistant to taking time off from work to recover. I worried that it would have negatively affected my career, and I worried that I just wouldn't come back. Yet, those worries were unfounded. And at work, what helped me was the support and the conversations that I had with my manager, with my colleagues, and in particular seeing a colleague who had themselves experienced depression, and they'd been really open about their experiences and were now thriving. And that made a big difference to me because I could see a way forward. And I could see that I too could recover. So I took that time off, and when I returned to work, I was determined that I was going to be open about my experience, especially given my leadership position. And I want to help to break down stigma about mental health, create more open conversations. And more than that, I want to contribute towards changing how we work to better support mental health and well-being. I'm a member of the Stability Network, and a big part of breaking the stigma of mental ill health is for people to realise that they're not alone. By being part of the Stability Network, I'm surrounded by people who have experienced a wide range of challenges, but who are all thriving. We learn from each other, we support one another, and I'm always inspired to see the great work that others in the community are doing. The network provides me with opportunities to share my story with other organisations, often alongside other stability leaders. And I see firsthand how welcomed and needed conversations about mental health are. And being in the network, it's a constant reminder for me that we can all thrive with mental ill health, especially when we're part of a supportive workplace or community. An important tool for me in managing my mental well-being is walking. It's easy to do and you can do it anywhere. And for me, that combination of gentle exercise, fresh air, and being surrounded by the outside world has a positive effect on my mental well-being. I often walk while I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast, but I also build it into my working day. So for example, I'll have walking meetings either on the phone or in person. And in today's hybrid or remote working world, it's a perfect opportunity to be away from the screen. And I find that it also creates really rich conversations. But I also take the time to walk without my phone or my headphones to really slow down and take the time to notice my surroundings. And that can be everything from the feeling of my feet on the ground, looking around me and seeing what I'm drawn towards, but also, listening to the sounds of the street or the woods or wherever I'm walking. And that's something that you can often miss when you're rushing around with the headphones in. And I find that it's a really mindful experience. I feel grounded, more present, and even more creative. And in today's world, we can often feel quite tied to our desks or our screens, but taking that time to have a walk and getting outside can make all of the difference.